Kobe
Menzo.
And with that, welcome back to Division I Rejects, episode 10. We have a little bit of a change of scenery here. We're in my basement while we're over break, joined by new faces to maybe the in-person part of the podcast. Both these guys have been on. Hunter Chambers, Michigan Tech, and Drew Carpenter from Northwood. What's going on, Drew?
First guest. Remember that.
Second guest.
Second guest. Remember that.
Big
First
time.
on phone guest. Oh,
Big
man.
time crew here.
Only
Just
FaceTime guest.
But we've
Get
got
outta
a
here.
packed episode today with a lot of great conversation. We've got two guests coming up on the podcast today. The first of which is Coach Garland from the Ellsworth Community College in Iowa Falls, Iowa. He is the D-line coach there. And then we will be joined by Ari Curtis later on, who is one of the defensive linemen that Hunter and I played with in high school. Yes, former teammate from Lake Orion, who's playing underneath Coach Garland, actually at Ellsworth Community College. So those will be two great conversations. But after that, we are going to get into the main topic of conversation for today, which is the 2 weeks of Lions football against the Panthers and PJ Walker, the XFL star, and then the Thanksgiving game against Houston, which have been 2 weeks of absolute depression. So after that, we'll wrap things up with a little bit of Big Ten football matchups and some MACtion talk to show love to a little bit of everyone here in the Midwest region as far as football goes. But per usual, the podcast will be available for viewing on YouTube. You'll check out the video version of the podcast. And there are some clips from Ari's highlight reel that you might want to see later. So maybe give that a check on YouTube. Otherwise, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your freaking podcasts. I think right now we're split pretty much but evenly between Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
What about YouTube? I watch on YouTube every week.
YouTube's the largest portion, but I mean audio-wise.
I was on Spotify.
Audio-wise,
Spotify guy?
I didn't realize Apple Podcasts
You
was
would
so
be a
big.
Spotify guy.
Well, when you get,
I'm still
Apple
mooching.
Music.
I'm still
Apple Music.
mooching off of my girlfriend's Spotify
course
account,
you
so
are.
I'm not even paying, to be honest.
Hey,
shout out to Carson Duff.
shout out Carson.
Shout out Carson. Great turkey day with Carson yesterday. But let's get right into this conversation with Coach Garland. Joining us today on Division I Rejects, we've got the current D-line coach and academic coordinator at Ellsworth Community College and a JUCO product himself out of Grand Rapids Community College before he graduated at William Penn. This guy's been a grad assistant at Wayne State at the GLIAC level, also has a ton of coaching experience at the high school level. It's Coach Garland. How's it going, Coach?
Hey, good morning, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a privilege to have you on. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day this Friday before a great weekend of football. But I know you told me you're in Michigan for the weekend. You are from Michigan then, I take it?
Yep. From Warren, Michigan. Graduated from Warren Fitzgerald in 2000 over in Macomb County.
Awesome. Now, how was your holiday? I'm assuming a little bit different with the circumstances going on right now.
Yep. A little different, but it was still good to see family and my brothers and stuff, and definitely it was a small gathering, like 6 or 7, but that's all you need. That's all I was looking for.
Yeah, it takes everyone. That's what the NFL keeps saying. It takes everyone. All it takes is one person or one group to slip up, and that would impact your whole school. So I'm glad that you guys are taking that seriously. But tell me about this guerrilla unit that you've got down in Iowa and the identity you guys are building there.
So when I was over at Wayne State, GA in there under Coach Cass, who's been a D-line coach over at Wayne State for about 15, 16 years.
Okay.
That they were called D-line dogs. So I just wanted to, and the kids, they took after that pretty well. And that's for 15 years. That's the cycle of players going through, and that's their identity. They take it and run with it. So once I got to Ellsworth, I wanted to find something that would stick and that the players would like. And, I just came up with G-Unit or Gorilla Unit, just because when I was playing and coming up, I was a big 50 Cent fan.
Okay.
So, that's what we call ourselves. And, the guys, they took it and run with it, man. And, we always use the hashtag G-Unit or,
I love it.
the gorilla emoji, and the kids love it, man.
That's awesome. That's just to have that distinct identity. I think that's awesome. But how long? I forget. You've been at Ellsworth for a few years now, right? Have you had a chance to really start to solidify that identity with your guys?
Yeah. So I'm going in. This will be my second. Actually, I'm in my second year now.
Okay.
Got there April 1st, 2019. And yeah, man, I kind of, hit the ground running. It was funny because I had 3 days to, prepare and get ready.
Man.
Made the drive from Detroit all the way to Iowa. And as soon as I got there, we had first day of spring practice. So, I kind of just hit the floor running, man. And, actually, we didn't have the record we wanted, but, I wound up having All-American up front. who's now at Southern Illinois.
That's awesome.
Sent another one to Western Illinois and 3 more Division II. So, it was
Holy
definitely
cow.
a productive year, my first year there. So
Productive year. Shoot, it sounds like it, man. I saw you had the chance to speak at this year's National All Sports Coaches Summit, and we talked a little bit earlier, at least I mentioned it, your wealth of knowledge as far as coaching at all of these different levels and different levels of experience. So tell me, I personally don't know too much about that event and what it entails, so tell me what that experience was like for you.
It was a great experience. Obviously it was a little different because it was something virtual online, but
Yep.
it was through Zoom, so I kind of was prepared for it because when the pandemic first started, we had to do a lot of Zoom meetings with our players and stuff. So I was prepared for it. It was my first time even hearing of it myself. It was awesome. You had just a lot of coaches all the way from Division I down to the JUCO level, and it was sports all over from, volleyball, wrestling, basketball, track and field. So it was a little something of everything, man. But a lot of coaches with a lot of knowledge and talking about everything.
Sweet. So it really is like All Sports Coaches Summit. I guess I didn't realize that. It probably should have been inherent when reading the name. But how important do you think it is to be a part of that community of coaches? I know you mentioned it was virtual and over Zoom, as are so many events now because of this pandemic. But how important still to be in that community, to learn from other coaches and maybe critique other coaches and just develop your own coaching mindset? How important do you think that is?
I think it's very important. They say great coaches learn from other great coaches. So just to have that mixture and knowledge, just, not all of it was X's and O's or about schemes, but, just different stuff about, players and how to deal with players and, just being in that community environment, camaraderie,
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, because obviously coaching is much more than X's and O's. It's about developing, in your case, young kids coming out of high school and trying to turn them into men that are going to go play at some big-time schools, which obviously you've been doing. Even in your first season, you pumped out a ton of guys that are going to play at some awesome universities. But we're going to have Ari Curtis on, who I played with in high school, and now you've got the chance to coach at Ellsworth. What has your experience been at Ellsworth, recruiting guys from Michigan and other areas? How do you get through that? Because I know coming out of high school, for a lot of guys, JUCO is not number one on the list. So how do you kind of circumvent that and get guys to show up at Ellsworth?
I think, first and foremost, my thing is, I want guys that, think or, have the ability to play at the highest level, whether that's, Division I or Division II, and just try to sell them and tell them about JUCO ball, what it is. It's definitely a kid feels like, they're under-recruited. It's a good way to get re-recruited and, get to the highest level that they want to play at, So, prime example, I have a young man now who's from Michigan. He didn't have really a lot of stuff coming out of high school, but, the past 2 weeks, he just committed to the University of Houston. So,
man, I did see that on your Twitter, actually. I think I saw that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, we just want to do that, man. Like I said, just want to get guys, that can play at their highest ability or, just try to get them to where they want to go at the end of the day.
Man, Guerrilla Unit, let's go, man. That's awesome. I think I would assume that you being a guy that played at the JUCO level is a huge part to play in that, kind of just to tell these guys from your own personal experience that you've gone through basically the same thing that they're going through right now. Do you think that has a huge pull on those guys and making a great connection with them?
Oh, yeah, most definitely, just for the simple fact that I've been through it, I lived through it, so, I got a better understanding of what they're going through, and, it's definitely, you really found out a lot about yourself, and you kind of, build a lot of character through this time just because, at the JUCO level, it's kind of selfish, but at the end of the day, you learn a lot just because, you will learn something you won't get, usually at the 4-year or 5-year university.
Awesome. Well, that's a good segue into the next thing I got for you here, which is you just mentioned that you're in your second year now at Ellsworth, and I wanted to ask you, how different is it having guys for only 2 years at the junior college level compared to being able to coach and develop them over a 4-year period like you would have at a Wayne State where you're a grad assistant, or even at the high school level where you're getting kids potentially for 3 or 4 years on that varsity squad? Does that affect the way you coach at all? And knowing that you only have a certain amount of time with these guys?
Yeah, it definitely you just got to speed things up, and just try to keep it as simple as possible. So, I come in with the mindset is, of course, these guys have been playing football all their life, but I come in there, with the mindset is, they pretty much know nothing. I just try to keep it as basic as possible to, they feel comfortable and I feel comfortable, then just progress it and continue to teach it, really.
Yeah. All right. I love that. Now, being from Michigan, does that mean you're a Lions fan or no?
Yeah, man. You got to stick with the hometown. I'm definitely a Lions fan. Been through a lot of rough, hard years, man. But, I come in there with the mindset every year is that they're going to do bad, so I can't be disappointed. So then when, they get them wins, then I say, I feel a little bit better about it.
Low expectations. The bar has certainly been set low. And now spinning right off of that, do you think that you could step into Patricia's shoes right now, and have maybe a little bit better circumstances there in Detroit?
I wouldn't even want to, man. Being a head coach, it's a lot of responsibility being a head coach.
Yes, it is.
I have no aspirations of being a head coach. I just want to be a defensive line coach. That's it.
That's it, man. I think that's kind of an interesting perspective too, because a lot of people would look at that and say, why would you not want to do that? That's technically a jump right up the coaching ladder. But why? I mean, obviously you've got a passion to coach that position, but is that really it? Just that passion to coach that position and those guys?
Yeah, I think once you get up to the highest level and being a head coach or even a coordinator, for example, man, you're dealing with egos and
very true.
Gotta, worry about if guys are doing the right thing or whatever. So I just love being a position coach, man, and I just really want to perfect this craft. And I tell my guys I'm literally like them, man. I'm trying to get to the highest level where I'm trying to go. So we kind of, just try to feed off each other, with that in my position group.
I love that perspective. I don't think I actually hear that too often, so it's kind of refreshing to hear that. My last thing for you, being a guy, we've talked about it, you played at the JUCO level, now you're coaching there, you've had all this experience. If you've got any advice for a kid who's coming out of high school expecting to go to a big-time university and that just doesn't end up happening for whatever reason, what advice would you give to a kid like that probably going to play at a JUCO level?
Man, I would tell them, like if you feel, as the coach told me, always bet on yourself and be confident. And I think, if, the more young people and young males, understand the JUCO level, and you feel like you're under-recruited, you want to go to that, Division I or Division II level, bet on yourself, man, and take that chance to go on JUCO and, man, get everything you want out of it. And, depending on if you're a qualifier, you can come out of there in 4 months. Or if you're not a qualifier, do your 2 years, handle your business in the classroom, and get out of there.
4 months, man. I didn't even know it could be that quick of a turnaround. That's crazy. Yeah. But, Coach, really appreciate your time coming on here today and your awesome perspective. That's something I haven't heard too much, but I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And, get some of those answers from my boy Ari, man.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your holiday.
All right, thank you too, Kobe. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'll see you. All right, we're back. Coach Garland. Coach Garland was the dude.
Dude, he had some great points, and it was fun talking to him.
He was an awesome guy. I don't know what I expected, to be honest. I know I've had very limited communication with him up until this point, but I think his perspective of not wanting to be in that coordinator or head coach role, that's something that I don't see often or even at all.
A super humble guy. And
very
like what
humble,
he said, he wanted to perfect his craft, and that's awesome. Just D-line, and he said he wanted to move up, which hopefully he does one day.
Yeah, seriously. I think, and, we'll talk to Ari Curtis later on, so stick around for that. But he talked about being a player's coach, and Ari touches on that again. And I think that level of transparency, like back and forth, like literally, like he's the dude. Like Ari will talk about later on. He like is there. He's going to tell you how to do it, but then he's going to go ahead and show you how to do it.
Put
and
your hand in the dirt.
Yeah,
he's going to
put your hand in the dirt.
He's going to turn his hat backwards and show you how to do it yourself.
Let's go. I love that. But anyways, we'll get right into the meat and potatoes here of the podcast.
Turkey Day reference.
There we go. We'll get right into the meat and potatoes of the podcast here. And we've got the Matt Stafford signed Lions football on the table here because the last 2 weeks have been 2 weeks of disappointment and mental health decline, as well known as Detroit Lions football.
You're hitting me. Whoa! Oh my gosh! Breaking news: the Detroit Lions still suck at football.
Oh my goodness!
I was holding that one in.
Oh my!
We've been wishing for a different type of breaking news, that being Fat Matt gone from the Detroit franchise, but maybe in the next hour we'll get that. I'm not very optimistic.
Question I'm going to start with: at the beginning, when we hired Matt Patricia, Were you guys excited? Were you
Yes.
excited? Be honest. Were you
Because
excited?
9-7 wasn't good enough.
And
I
we
would
thought
say
we were
yes,
better than that.
because also from the past of the Patriots to the Lions, we've had some good success coming from there.
Did
and
we though? Did we though?
I think so.
Bob
Player-wise?
Bob Quinn was doing good in his first
Player-wise,
couple
too?
years.
Okay.
From that organization.
Like they were 9-7
Because like
back-to-back years.
I'm saying myself, I remember I was pretty excited because I was like, yeah, 9-7, maybe we can like make the playoffs, win a game.
And that was the point when he
Yeah.
when he came in originally when we got rid of Caldwell was that we need to be making deep playoff runs.
three winning seasons in a row for Caldwell.
But hold on.
you got to remember that.
Let's
Three-
listen
he
to
never
this.
didn't have a losing record as a Lions.
Let's
coach.
think about this. Matt Patricia's last game in New England, they were down 28-3. Think about that.
Man.
Yeah.
Man,
Like
you got to be feeling
you
good.
look, you got to look at
You
that.
got to
and
be
like,
feeling
you
good.
gotta be
You
feeling good.
You got to be like, oh, he just came off a Super Bowl victory. Like
Exactly.
this is our guy.
the top of the world. But last Sunday was quite the opposite. Shut out by the 3-7 Panthers. They're now 4-7 because of the win against us. They put up 20 points behind the XFL's MVP, PJ Walker. Let's talk about PJ. He played at Temple under Matt Rule, and it was funny. They showed a graphic during the game. I think there's like 6 or 7 guys from that team that ended up circling back and are now with Carolina. Even some staff members, too, that he brought, which I don't think is uncommon for a head coach
Not
to do that.
uncommon at all, yeah.
But I think that was awesome. He is an undrafted free agent in 2017 before ultimately being released, finding an opportunity with the Houston Roughnecks and the XFL. I will say, when he was picked up by the Colts in 2017, he was behind Andrew Luck and Jacoby Brissett.
He was
right?
on the practice squad, correct?
Yeah.
So he was still.
But
I
he
mean,
was on the team. He was on the practice
He's
squad.
also
to
learning
be in the presence of those two
Yeah,
guys who are both
learning.
leading franchises now. Correct?
No, Jacoby's
well,
behind
Jacoby
Phillip.
Brissett behind Phillip.
And
But
now
I think
he is.
Jacoby's a good
He
quarterback.
was
Andrew
last
Luck's like-
year though. Correct?
He was an
Yes.
average quarterback last
And
year.
then
Andrew Luck is
Andrew
at
Luck's
your,
gone now, yeah, of
regular
course.
retirement home.
But PJ Walker, man, his XFL stats were awesome. 15 touchdowns, over 1,300 yards. Did have 4 interceptions, but that ratio is incredible. 104 passer rating. He was electric to watch play against a lot of great football players.
As a former XFL Defenders fan, I wanted to see that roughneck defender game. I know
That would have been legendary.
That would have been the game of the XFL. And
Hey,
when my
Defenders did
defenders
drop
come
off.
back and win the XFL trophy, whatever it's called, when my defenders do that,
2022.
Can you smell it?
2022.
2022.
The
Can
Rock's
you smell
cooking,
it?
baby.
The Rock, obviously heading up the resurrection, the second resurrection of the XFL, which really doesn't even stand for anything. I realize it's not even like the Extreme Football League or anything. It's
just
just the
XFL.
Oh, that would have
XFL.
been really sweet.
Like, how badass is that? I think it's just the XFL. But anyways, the Rock's getting that. They got a Black Friday sale going on, but no free shout-outs. So Thanksgiving
No free
Day,
shout-outs.
we'll go back to the Lions here. Thanksgiving Day, we start strong in typical Lions fashion. I think that's the one thing that we have done game in and game out is like go and score or like get everybody's hopes up before we eventually let them down. But we start with an opening touchdown on that drive, and that was like the 5th or 6th game in a row the Houston Texans have led up a touchdown on the opening drive. So not very impressive when you look at the stats. But we were showing promise, especially in the run game, without
That
Swift.
first drive
Yes.
Well,
second
we didn't
quarter.
throw the ball for like 10
yeah,
third
plays.
quarter.
Adrian Peterson found the fountain of youth.
I guess so with his
and
Thanksgiving cleats on.
I guess so.
I mean, it was ridiculous. We
donating
ran
meals.
We ran like, I think we rushed the ball 10 times in a row, which is the most we've done all season.
No, I saw something. That was the most we've done it since Matthew Stafford's been there. Was 10
Are you
run-ins in a row.
serious?
It was 10 runs in a
Holy
row,
cow.
and then they did that play action, the pass it to Agnew, fake it to carry on, pass it to Agnew, and then
Stafford.
Matthew Stafford
And
couldn't.
Stafford.
The tuck rule,
Great. I mean, great.
Yeah.
I love
or
the
the
call.
Calvin Johnson rule.
I love the call, the Calvin
Yeah.
Johnson rule. That's like setting a precedent,
Like that-
right?
if-
Because like he didn't.
Literally.
That's.
Do you
and
really
then
think it was a
Patricia-
catch, though?
No.
No, it
Patricia,
wasn't a catch.
there's no business for Patricia to even like. He's sitting there hesitating
Yeah.
with that challenge
Did you
flag.
see the way he threw the flag though? It was
Oh
like,
my gosh, the
man,
wimpiest thing I've
yeah,
ever
like
seen.
come on. If I'm a coach, I'm launching that.
Dude,
Jim
you have
Schwartz.
to. You only get to do it. Yeah,
photo.
in shorts.
And did you guys see the thing on Twitter where it was Firestone, Martha Firestone, or what's our owner's name now?
Sheila Ford?
Sheila Ford, just in the press
Martha
conference. just-
Firestone.
Sorry.
Wait, what? Yes, her face and
Yeah, her
and the
face
press
was just
box.
down and just disappointed. I'm surprised.
between her
Fat
and
Matt's not gone
between
yet.
her and Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones was depressed too
Yeah.
on Sundays. Or no, that was just yesterday,
That was
right? Thursday
yesterday.
Night Football. Sorry. We'll talk about a little bit about that later.
listen
but-
to this,
Antonio
though.
Gibson?
Yeah.
I got something on Patricia. You know how they call them the defensive guru?
Oh
right?
yeah.
Him
You know,
Oh,
him and-
Jim Mansell brings it up every
yeah,
week.
him and Belichick. So I did some research, right? This is the Orlovsky coming out. Caldwell's first year, the Lions were 3rd in points per game and 2nd in yards per game. His first year. His worst in yards per game was 26th. Matt Patricia, in the last 2 years, best is 26th. In
Oh.
points per game, Patricia went from 16th to 26th to 28th. Caldwell was 3rd, 23rd, 13th, and 21st. So
Okay,
I know it.
okay.
It depends on who you surround your defense with.
Yes.
And Caldwell had a lot of good defensive coordinators. I think it was Terrell Austin.
Terrell Austin was
yeah.
a great defensive coordinator.
But he also wasn't as directly involved.
He wasn't a defensive guru.
Yeah.
He was on the offensive side. And the Lions struggled on offense when Caldwell was there. But if you're not a defensive guru and you bring in a defensive guru and nothing's changing, are you a defensive guru?
No, you're
Are
not.
you a defensive
Okay,
guru?
but like we said, like I asked at this in the beginning, we were on top of the world when we hired Matt Patricia.
For the Lions, yeah, relatively
the
speaking.
Lions, we were like, yes, like
Yeah.
9-7, we're winning a playoff game, but that just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Does it all blame on Fat Matt? No, but also
A lot of it.
a lot of it
A lot
does.
of it.
A lot of it does, but
When you
it's
have
not
10 guys in the field, remember that Dalvin Cook touchdown?
Dalvin Cook touchdown.
It happened
Yeah.
3 times, by the way. 3 times when you are missing a defender on the field and one of them goes for 70 yards. That goes directly back to the coaching staff. I mean, should it go directly to the head coach? I don't know. But like you said, when you have that much of a direct emphasis on being a defensive guru and having that involvement in the defense, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to you anyways. So even if it's whether it's your fault or not, all of that pent-up aggression from Lions fans is coming to you like whether you like it or not.
Well, you know what's the best part? And this is what I think solidifies the Patricia era. The first game against the Jets where they have the pick 6
Yes.
and they're up
Yes.
big and we're like,
and then,
oh,
Sam
yeah.
Dar-
The
and then
Lions
everyone's
are
like,
back.
Sam Darnold's the guy.
Yeah.
The Lions are back,
And
it's
then
like, oh my god,
Snap. Patricia sucks. And they're horrible.
dude! I remember was that
That was
Monday Night Football.
Glover
Monday
Quinn?
Night Football.
No,
with
it
that
was
pick
Diggs.
six?
It was
That was
Diggs.
Diggs. Okay,
Who's
That
now
was
Diggs.
doing good in Seattle?
He's playing pretty
not
solid.
bad.
Playing pretty
yeah.
solid.
I mean,
bad.
their pass
Much
defense
better-
is bad.
Bad.
But because
Yeah.
I
Their
feel like
deep
they have
ball.
no
defense
corners.
is
Yeah,
bad.
in general.
that's true. That'd be why they. Well, no, they beat the Cardinals this last time, didn't they?
Yeah, and the defense played really well.
They
really well
stepped
that
it up.
game,
They
too.
stepped it up.
What about those Carolina Panthers, though, Kobe?
Those Carolina Panthers. Well, let me tell you about those Carolina Panthers. They are getting back 2 big-time contributors.
Really?
And we're going to talk about one of them that I think you need to put a little bit more respect on his name.
He's on my
That
fantasy
being
team
running
for a
back
reason.
Christian McCaffrey. Now, I will say Christian McCaffrey returned to practice on Wednesday, but he will not be playing this week because of the shoulder injury that he suffered just a few weeks prior. But quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is coming back, and he will make the start this Sunday against his former team,
Teddy Two Gloves?
the Minnesota Vikings.
I
Teddy
forgot
Two
about
Gloves
that.
is back. He
Revenge
missed,
game.
I want to say Christian McCaffrey missed 8 of the last 9 games, 6 with a high ankle sprain, which is, in my opinion, the most underrated injury in
Especially for a
any
running
type of
back.
sport, especially for a running back. For a guy like him who's just quick and is all about like those quick shifts laterally, I think just his play style depends on that. It seems like such a minor injury, but like if you're out 6 weeks, like that's a big time injury. Comes back against, I believe, Kansas City, and then he had that shoulder injury that put him out in the second half of that game. So please tell me why he is overrated. In
Yeah,
your
I
book.
want to hear this.
Okay. So once again, let's not just think about the Lions game. So the Carolina Panthers are a very bad defensive team. They're the worst
Yeah.
team on third down.
They're not great.
They're not great. So don't just show their record to thing in anything.
They're a young defense.
They're a young defense, yes.
Fair.
Mike Davis has been putting up great numbers this year.
It's true.
Mike Davis has been, yes, Christian McCaffrey.
He's been playing pretty well.
I'm not saying Christian McCaffrey's not bad, but I'm saying there's too much hype around him. He's not the best back in the league. He's not the best back in the league.
there
I
was
wouldn't say he's
99 overall.
That's Madden. We're not talking Madden. I'm saying I can name 4 better backs right now on top of my head.
Please.
King Henry, Aaron Jones,
No.
Alvin
way.
Kamara, Dalvin Cook.
All right. No way. Because
I'll give you Henry and Cook for
Kamara.
sure. Kamara's been playing very well. Jones been playing well, but he's
Yes,
easily top
I
5.
love Christian McCaffrey.
He's
I'm not
easily top 5.
he's a top 5 back. Yes.
He's a
Christian-
white running back.
that has nothing to
stick
do with
together.
anything.
yeah. Well, listen to this.
Okay,
I
Mr.
feel like,
fullback over there.
yeah, fullback.
Running back, guys.
So I feel like Christian McCaffrey is getting the Stephen Curry treatment.
Really?
Where Steph was out this past year and people would do their top 5.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that.
and so I
That's
feel like
interesting.
I think I might like that.
Saquon's kind of getting it too.
Zeke. Oh, dude, I could go on for days. Oh,
Like
come on.
Saquon and Christian McCaffrey.
Derrick Henry's
There's
the best
a
running back in the league.
reason why they were always picked 1 and 2 in fantasy because they are production.
Yeah.
They
right?
put up numbers.
Christian McCaffrey this year
Unless you have the
in his
Giants
3
offensive
games.
line.
That's true. 28 total yards for my first round draft pick.
Oh gosh.
Christian McCaffrey is averaging 125 yards per game and
He's
2
played
touchdowns.
in 3 games.
In 3 games.
He's played in 3
He's played the
games.
Chiefs,
I don't care.
the Bucks, who have the top 3 defense. And week 1, they played the Raiders, and the Raiders have a top
Raiders
defense.
have
Raiders have a good defense.
So he's played
too.
the
Jeff
Chiefs,
Heath, shout out.
Raiders,
Wow.
and Bucks.
Shout out Jeff Heath.
Shout out Jeff Heath.
And he's averaging 125 total yards and 2 touchdowns in the game.
All I'm saying is
That's
Mike
impressive.
Davis has been putting up great numbers with Teddy Bridgewater. I love Curtis Samuel, too. I love Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
I think
he
he should
was-
convert to running back and
Well,
just
think about
throw him in the backfield.
they have good weapons.
have
Robbie
great
Anderson
weapons.
and
Robbie
what's
Anderson
his
is
name?
coming to his
solid.
own.
He's
That's
Moore.
coming to his own.
Is it DJ Moore? Yeah,
Yeah.
DJ Moore.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Overrated, too. DJ Moore's overrated,
Okay,
too.
but still, for a young receiver, he's not bad.
Yes, correct.
But I
They
think
have a good core offensive group.
Yeah.
Do I think Christian McCaffrey is the most important on that team? No. I think Teddy Bridgewater is.
Well, most important, definitely, he's a quarterback.
yeah.
Like that's any NFL franchise.
But
if you
PJ
do not have a quarterback, you're not
PJ,
going
yes,
to
did a good job. We talked about PJ.
So that's why I think it's going to be interesting. Not because PJ is going to come in and be the guy now for Carolina all of a
He's
sudden.
not.
That's not happening, right? Coach Matt Rule did say, he said, quote, I'm talking about Teddy Bridgewater here. He's our starting quarterback. He's our leader. PJ came in and did a good job, got us the win, but Teddy's our guy. And I think that's the obvious answer, right? You don't just
Yeah.
have this guy
Yes.
comes out for against the Lions and
Yeah.
20
Lions.
points. Yeah.
The Lions.
2 interceptions in the end zone. Like you're not going to be
Yeah.
propelled into stardom out of that. But I
It
think
was a
it's
nice
going to
story.
be interesting. It's a great story. It's going to be interesting because
He'll be a backup.
Teddy Bridgewater now has a little bit of pressure. I don't think he's like, oh, he's not going
No
to take my
pressure.
job. But no. I'm just saying now he knows there is a viable option for a guy to come in and play behind him if for some reason he doesn't perform.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
PJ did come in earlier this year against the Falcons on a Thursday night game when Teddy. They said he
like-
may have had a concussion for a little bit,
yeah.
and he looked horrible. I mean, the weather
Yes.
wasn't that good, but Teddy came back in and he balled.
Yeah.
And that was, again, without Christian McCaffrey. And so, but I think Matt Rule is not getting enough credit.
Yeah.
He went to
doesn't.
Temple, turned him around. Went to
Baylor.
Baylor, turned him around. Now goes to Carolina.
Semi
Carolina
turning them
should have been one of the worst teams in the league this year.
Especially losing. Well, Cam was kind of an obvious choice to get him out of town
Yep.
just because of the new. You wanted to get like a lot of young
Then
faces in
McCaffrey
there.
goes down.
How about Keekly? You didn't
Keekly
talk
Oh, I
about
was
forgot
Keekly?
about Keekly.
Yeah.
Right. This is his
that
first year without him.
untimely retirement.
That's
Literally,
very
their
true.
anchor of their defense. Like, if
Right?
Keekly
That's
is
their
on that
team.
team, that is a good defense.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
To miss out on a guy like that in your first year, especially when you're a new head coach trying to come in to establish like yourself in the building.
Yeah.
From one point of view, like I don't know, you want to have young guys, but like having those anchor guys, like I think
The
that's a
veteran
perfect
player.
word. That's a
Veteran
perfect
player.
word. Like an anchor guy like that who has been around the program for so long, like that would suck.
And then your best player gets hurt.
Exactly.
Like, they should have been horrible.
they should have been, and
They've
now
been
they're
competing.
Now
Yeah.
they just thumped the Lions.
They have been competing. Every game they competing, just like the Lions. Well,
true.
They
mostly
almost
every
beat the
game they won.
Chiefs.
They did almost beat the Chiefs. And they
Man.
almost beat what was a good team? They almost beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's
Did
very
they
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're in the same. They're in the same division, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Which leads us into our next point.
Oh, go
Divisions.
ahead. Why
Other
don't you-
divisions.
why
Would you
don't
please tell me?
Yeah,
So-
please.
With the NFL races, it's I think it's what, week 12 right now? Yeah, week 12.
Something like that,
Mundo.
yeah.
So the NFC West is definitely the best division in football. We'll start there. The Rams coming off a huge upset. Like, I didn't think the Rams were going to be good this year. They lost Todd Gurley. I just didn't think that they were just going to be good. And they
Yeah.
walked into Tampa Bay, and
And the Gronkaneers.
yeah, and and made Gronk. I mean, thank you, Gronk. 25 yards, won me my fantasy game. Thank
Oh,
you.
25.
But other than that, the Tampa Bay offense looked terrible. They can't.
The Tampa Bay offense, for every primetime game, they play very bad.
So bad.
Yeah.
But every other game, they're blowing
They're lights
someone
out.
out.
They're playing how they
exactly.
should. They're playing how they should be playing with
do you
that
think?
stack
Do you
of a
think
roster.
Tom Brady is washed? Would you say washed? Can he not compete in primetime
I think
games?
his
Does
deep
he?
ball might be a little washed because he's missed.
Kirk Cousins curse.
Yeah, he might have it.
Uh-oh.
Tampa Bay's got the Kirk Cousins curse.
The primetime curse.
Must be Michigan quarterbacks, Michigan State right there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But what were you saying about Tom Brady being washed? I think his deep ball is very bad. He's missed Antonio Brown in back-to-back games, streaking down the field.
That's been a conversation for a while, I think.
Very
right?
much. Yeah.
Deep
And
ball?
The past 2 years, I think,
Yeah.
even in New England.
And
That's fair.
let's not forget, like, Edelman was his guy, and Edelman was an underneath guy. And I
Yeah.
feel like they're turning Chris Godwin into the next Julian Edelman.
Unfortunately, I thought
That's kind of interesting.
I love
Godwin was a
Godwin.
deep threat guy
Yes.
too before.
That's interesting. I didn't think about it like that, but you're right. Like it
Like
has to,
Jameis
He
could
has
sling
been
it.
starting to
they
just
almost have
go
to
into-
cater it to
Yeah.
And like that was the biggest talking point coming into this was because Bruce Arians, right? Bruce Arians, his style was throw it up. Somebody's getting it. Ball. When we have receivers like Evans and Godwin, usually it's going to be our guy.
That's how it was with Andrew Luck. Yeah,
it isn't a 50-50 ball. It's like a 75-25 when you have those guys, right? So that was the mindset. Then they're like, well, Tom doesn't really fit into that style. He's been in this structured system for so long. Like he's not going to come in and do that. I think that's kind of interesting because
which they're sitting at 7-4. So it's not
you're pretty comfortable.
You're comfortable. The NFC South is very.
The Saints are still.
The Saints are a great team.
Yeah,
they are.
They're always a great team, and I hate to say this because I love Drew Brees. I think he's the GOAT. But big drop. We'll get into that. But the NFC South, I like a lot because Carolina and Tampa Bay are the two teams in the middle. I think Carolina and the Falcons are out of it. But the Saints, is the Saints the best team in the NFC? Are the Saints the best team in the NFC?
In the NFC?
No.
I guess you could probably make the argument that the Packers are playing better right now.
No, the Packers
against the loss against the Indianapolis Colts.
The Colts are underrated.
Very underrated. That Carp, don't you worry.
Very underrated.
I don't know. I still think. I mean, I'm no Packers fan, obviously, but the Packers have been playing good football, and we've seen them after a game like that come back and bounce back incredibly.
Now you're correct because Valdez Scantling when he fumbled, it's one player. We're not all going to blame him, but they were driving.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, especially against remember that Bucs game, primetime game where Aaron Rodgers he's been historically bad in Tampa. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But coming out of that game, he had one of the best games of his career. Aaron Rodgers is saying a lot. And right now,
that was the Texans game, I believe.
I think it was. I'm not sure. But
Devontae Adams just went nuts.
The NFC, I think, is just so much more competitive, at least right now. But Drew, why don't you tell us a little bit about the AFC North?
Well, I'm a little biased towards the AFC North, I'm repping my home dogs when I said week 1 of the Division I Rejects podcast that the Browns would be going to the playoffs.
Yeah, you did.
And let's just say this. The Browns have the schedule to make it to the playoffs. Oh, and Lamar Jackson pops out with COVID.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's be real. The Steelers, I don't think the Steelers are the best team in the AFC. I think they're the best team in the AFC North. I'm never going to pick against Patrick Mahomes. He's so good.
Please.
Okay. The Raiders game, the Raiders game on Sunday night, I come back from work. I'm like, all right, the Raiders, I got Josh Jacobs. I'm going to watch this game, right?
That was a grudge game.
That was a game.
That was the best game I've watched all year.
Yeah.
That was the best game I've watched all year.
You tell me, was there any doubt in your mind when Mahomes is driving down?
When they gave him 2 minutes, I was like, game's over.
Let's be real.
It was like a minute 47. I was like, yep.
Derek Carr looking like the kid from Incredibles when he's super mad. He's like, I'm not getting the ball back.
Dude. No, because that was a grudge game, remember, because they had supposedly they took a victory lap around the stadium. The Raiders did after
John
they beat the
Gruden would
Chiefs.
totally do that.
Probably,
100%.
Probably, but I don't know. That's not verified.
And Travis Kelce said
that.
on Bussin' with the Boys, shout out Barstool Sports.
Yeah.
He wanted to put up 250 yards against them because he was so mad.
Kelsey's been balling.
He did say that. Kelsey's been balling. Kelsey had 1128, 9 catches and a touchdown.
Best tight end in the game.
And got the game winner.
Had the game winner, which where was the coverage on that?
Dude,
literally, I saw something on Twitter. This was
so
literally
bad.
the easiest game winner. He moved up in the pocket and was like, "Oh, Kelsey's wide open in the end zone."
There.
That was bad.
Touchdown. 22 seconds, not enough.
Could have dropped and done a down up, and still
Carr.
would have been wide open. If you think about it,
Probably. And it's interesting because Lamar Jackson goes down with COVID, and you had that primetime game that would have made my Thanksgiving so much better if I was able to watch that Steelers-Ravens game. But now, obviously, we have the ability to look back in hindsight and to say, that would have sucked. Now, if we play that game and then we come out and we're like, oh, shoot, Lamar Jackson had COVID and he's handing balls off to all these guys. And then, this and this and this, had to do contact tracing and all this
Mark
crap.
Ingram got it.
Exactly. That would be potentially ending for the Ravens. I mean, if that actually happened, I don't know. But now it sounds like head coach John Harbaugh said they might not be in the practice facility. They might not be allowed back in.
No way that
Monday
game's happening
at the earliest.
No, that game's not happening.
Yeah,
Sunday.
so that's the next point. Is the game got postponed to what's supposed to be Sunday this weekend against the Steelers for that primetime game for the AFC North. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
So Hunter, I'm looking at the Ravens schedule, right?
Yep.
The Ravens have Pittsburgh, right, on the road. They have Cleveland on the road, right? So, but that's not the rate. I feel like the Ravens aren't in a race for second place in their division.
No, they're
in a race for the wild
playoff.
Yeah,
they're
because
in a race to make the playoffs.
Their loss to the Titans might have been like the biggest loss of their season because
Probably.
if the Titans don't win that division,
King Henry.
yep, if the Titans don't win that division and the Colts do, the Titans own that tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And the Raiders, I don't think the Raiders are gonna like lose out.
I think my 3 wild cards right now would be the Raiders, the Colts,
say
and
it.
I like
Say it.
Tua. I like the Dolphins.
Baker.
I like the Dolphins. I don't like Baker.
No,
I don't like Baker.
The Dolphins. The Dolphins do have a tough schedule. I don't know what it is.
I saw something. Is it Browns that have the easiest schedule left?
Browns have Browns have
But it's the
Jacksonville
Browns, so-
Jaguars,
Okay, win.
the Titans, which would be a good game.
Loss.
Baltimore at
Tennessee.
home,
Loss.
win. Jets, Giants.
Okay.
The Giants
Yeah.
are a good team.
Okay.
Okay, Washington's winning that division. I'm
And
saying that
okay,
right now.
and let's just say this.
Oh, so I saw something that so about your Browns. I saw that yesterday when they were talking about Washington. It says the Giants have a better chance of making the playoffs than the 7-3 Browns compared to the 3-7 Giants.
That's because of the division they play in. I mean, let's be real.
yes, correct.
Oh,
That-
yeah,
I'm just
The
I'm
NFC
throwing
least.
stats
Yeah.
at you.
The NFC least.
They're
That's
horrible.
ridiculous, though.
They have a better percentage or
Yeah,
whatever.
when you look at like win
That's
probability
so
and
bad.
stuff.
Like
yeah.
honestly, like
That's
the
terrible.
Browns aren't making the playoffs. It's going to be the
All right.
Steelers, Colts, Raiders. Because Tennessee's going to win the AFC South.
okay.
AFC West will go to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Raiders come in second. And then I would say the Steelers win the AFC North. And then
Yeah, the Steelers are winning.
watch out for Miami, dude.
I'm telling
Miami's
you
a
right
good
now-
team. Miami's a good team.
Fitzmagic had to come in for Tua and finish off a game.
Because
for
they
him.
lost to the Broncos,
They did lose to the Broncos.
who are horrible.
They're not horrible.
Miami's defense. has
Drew
been-
Luck.
No,
He's
he's going to
been
be gone.
horrible.
He's
He's
going to be
gone.
on the
He's
chopping
gone.
block. He's
Like,
gone.
Yeah.
Gosh. But here's the thing, though, about the Browns. Last thing I'll say. If they can win
Last
one
thing
of
I'll
those
say.
3 versus the Titans, Steelers or Ravens, let's
One.
just say they win one.
They need at least 2.
No. If they win one
They
and
win
they
one,
win
I
the-
think they're good.
and they win Jacksonville, the
Oh,
Giants
I
and the
see,
Jets,
I see.
they're 11-5. They're making the playoffs at 11-5.
Yeah. But once again, the Browns, I feel like, have Lions vibes. And you know one of those 3 games you said,
Lions vibes.
they might
Trap.
lose. They
Oh,
might drop
no.
out of those
Game.
games.
Trap.
No,
game.
Baker. So
Baker
I've been
is-
watching the last 3 games, right? And they've been
Hey, it's
40.
his house.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Baker's
progressive.
honey?
Baker Mayfield has the best
My hands are
commercials
slipping.
on TV.
Hey, shout out his
He's
agent
good.
because shout out his agent. He's gonna make a
He's
lot
just-
of money.
Bro,
Yeah.
he does a good job in commercial.
Yeah.
Like, he's genuinely like a good,
funny. He's
yeah.
genuinely funny.
He's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
But
Yeah, let me get these crescent rolls.
That'll hold him over.
Over
vote around in the book
fried
club.
turkey. Turkey day.
So the last thing is the Browns have played in 40-mile-an-hour winds against the Raiders, which totally affected the pass game, which is crazy. 40-mile-an-hour winds.
that.
35-mile-an-hour winds against the Texans.
Okay,
to where
but the
Deshaun
team,
Watson
the
didn't
team
even play
wants to run the ball.
Exactly.
When you have
Yeah.
backs like Chubb and Hunt, you want to
You
run the
should.
ball.
No,
you
you
don't
should.
want to. You don't want to throw it with Baker 40 times.
good. I look at the last game. It was the Bengals, right?
Yes.
It was the Bengals. We get it. But if you look at the offense they ran against the Bengals without OBJ goes down, right? It's an emotional victory.
Rip.
And the weather was nice. Baker was slinging it. That offense was just completely
but
different.
they don't want to.
I know, but I'm just saying they can if they need to. But with
That's
the weather,
fair.
I
it's
say
just
the
horrible.
Browns rather play in awful weather than play in normal weather.
I would
say
agree.
they rather because it more fits them.
Yeah.
Than they're like that guy's uncomfortable. We're not.
Yeah.
True.
That's
I,
what
agree.
I
I
get
also
that.
think, though, on the flip side of that, that's a good point because in one of those 3 games where they have to win, right,
Baker's going to need to throw the ball.
he's going to need to. It's going to come down to I
Unfortunately.
don't want to say a last minute, but like a fourth quarter possession where you need to go down the field and you cannot grind out an 8-minute possession.
And here's the thing, though, too, is when you look at, like, Baker's getting destroyed sometimes on Instagram because he has less passing yards than Dak. You know, Dak has more, like, Baker has, like, 3 more attempts than he does.
That is crazy because Dak was, even after
Dak-
he went
Dak was
down,
throwing
he was
the ball
holding
50
He was
yards,
throwing the ball
50
50
times.
times a game. Yes.
The Browns don't throw the ball.
They don't need to. They're a good team. They're just not a
Exactly.
playoff team.
They need Myles Garrett back if they're going to make it to the
Oh
playoffs.
yeah, COVID list. That was a
For
big
sure.
hit. That was a big hit.
And Denzel Ward potentially going out. But
Really?
like we said, let's talk about the East. Football team.
the football team.
The Washington.
The
Hey.
football team from Washington.
I'm betting on it. I bet you it's the Warriors. Washington Warriors.
I got the
Hear me out.
Washington
That's the name?
Generals.
Generals.
That's the name.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I've seen a couple that they wanted to ditch Washington and like totally
like DC destroyers. DC
Whoa.
destroyers.
That
My
would be
defenders.
That'd be pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Defenders and destroyers.
Having something like, especially like the identity wise, like you're not in Washington, you're in DC.
Exactly.
Like, I think that'd be pretty dope.
I like that a lot.
I'd be in for that.
I'd never heard of that, but I
DC
do
name.
like that.
I'd be in for a DC name.
So who's winning the East? Who's winning it?
Washington.
I almost just said it.
Washington.
They
Devils.
play like not good teams.
Raiders.
No, I almost said Red
Like
Sox.
okay, so it's to me it's a 2-team race between them and Dallas because
I wouldn't even put Dallas in there. I think Dallas is a bad team.
no, I think so
I
too.
agree.
But look at the other team. The Giants are playing Seattle, Arizona,
I
Cleveland,
like
and
Daniel
Baltimore.
Jones. I like Daniel Jones.
That's 4 losses.
Do you?
They're not winning one of those games.
Wait, who are they playing? Say them again.
Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland, and Baltimore.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Nope.
Rough.
They're out.
The
They're
Eagles,
out.
the Eagles gets even worse. Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, Arizona, Dallas, and Washington.
I could
no
see
shot.
the Eagles losing out.
Yeah,
with that
so could I.
schedule.
So could I.
Given
Carson
that-
Wentz is the worst starting
It's
quarterback. in the
Jalen
league.
time.
Dang.
It is
I was
Jalen
about
time.
to say, so given that, like, your season is, for all intents and purposes, over, right? Especially
So
when
should
you
you-
look at the
for sure.
schedule. Should you move on? Like,
Should you move?
are you-
Just give him a try.
Do you
No,
give him
just
a
one
start?
start.
Real.
Because then, no, but you run the risk then, like, yeah, like, is he your guy? Like, he better be because you know.
Like if you
that's
start
your
him
dude.
over Wentz, like Wentz is
There's
out
no
of there.
going back.
Yeah.
There's
They
no going
drafted
back.
him in the second round for a reason.
That's true,
You
but-
don't draft
okay,
a quarterback in the second round.
Green Bay.
unless you-
Green Bay first
Green Bay,
round.
Well,
Jordan
I mean,
Love.
Jordan Love is going to take at least. Aaron Rodgers is here for at least 3 more years.
I would agree with that.
Okay, but
especially with
how
what
long
he's
was-
playing like right now.
But how long was Brett there before they started Rodgers?
3 years.
Okay, so that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
just what they do.
Those
Hey, they thought Rodgers was a bust.
damn Packers.
And
fans.
hey,
Always lucky with.
and hey,
quarterbacks.
you know Doug Peterson for the Eagles? Like he's
Love Doug
he's a
Peterson.
creative guy.
Yeah.
Think of all he could do with
Indeed.
Jalen Hurts' athletic ability.
I mean, look
Like
at what he did with
Carson-
Nick Foles.
Exactly. Jalen Hurts, I'm telling you,
Tripod Nick.
I see Jalen.
Shut up, PMT.
I see Jalen becoming like a lesser version of Cam.
That's funny.
I can
was
see
about to bring
that.
that
I
up.
love Jalen Hurts.
I was about to
love
bring
Jalen
that up
Hurts.
because when Cam went over to the Patriots, that is a different brand of football
Oh,
than
they
they're used to playing.
come on.
Right? They've never had the luxury
Quarterback
of having a
power
quarterback- Yeah.
with Tom Brady.
They've never had the luxury of having a quarterback do the things that Cam does. So for him to come in there and then be that guy who's like so multidimensional, it was almost, I would assume it was like fun for the,
Well, it has to
offensive
be.
side of the ball to just be able to experiment with different things.
That's why Doug Peterson's probably just inching at the bit to be like, all right, Carson, you're gone. See ya.
I mean, I don't know.
I like their
We'll-
backfield too. I like Miles Sanders,
see about
but
that.
once again, I see Washington winning this division behind their 3 running backs. I would say McKissick, Barber, and the
Gibson
main guy
is a
Gibson.
baller.
Gibson.
is a baller. 3
How about-
touchdowns yesterday.
First time
since
since
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Turkey Day, baby. Turkey Day ball.
Man.
It's always against the Cowboys, too.
It's always
It
against
always
the
is.
Cowboys.
Part.
Let's round out
Damn,
our
boys.
NFL talk here. Tom Brady versus Pat. We talked about it a little bit. Do we think this is the last time these guys meet?
I see Tom Brady playing the rest of this year and next year.
I think he's got
I-
2 years on
I
his
think-
deal. Is that what he signed?
He has 2 years on his deal, so
Okay.
yeah, this
He'll
year
play
and next
out
year.
his contract.
I can see them even drafting a quarterback this year.
Oh,
maybe even in like the 3rd round, just to put him behind
completely
Tom
agree.
Brady,
Interesting.
or maybe
That- you can't
bring back Jameis.
Whoa.
That would be the
Famous
storyline of
Jameis.
the
Could you imagine that? That's like bringing back
Jameis.
Caldwell.
Dude, yeah, it is.
That's not going to happen. That'd be
like
hilarious.
Getting
though.
back with an X.
It's like, hey, Nick Foles, remember? He left with Philly, went on a little journey, and then came back and won the
Philly.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He did.
I mean,
There's
there's
like a Cinderella
Hey,
story.
he had a what's the?
and he's still
I
bad.
think- What Jameis get?
Dang.
Yeah, I think.
Hey.
Anyway, the round. So back
This
to
is
that
a-
matchup.
this is a deep
Patrick
QB.
Mahomes.
Did somebody say?
Last thing you say,
Did
though?
somebody say?
Not. Dude. This is a deep QB
Who wants
draft.
to eat it? There's a deep one.
Yeah, I just ate a
Quarterback
W.
draft.
For those listening, I
Yes.
just ate a W on the couch. So
Kyle Trask from Florida. We're going to talk about like college football in a minute. But Kyle Trask from Florida is not getting the hype he deserves as far as this draft.
we talked about him last week. I don't know if
He's
you guys
a
listened,
beast.
but in the Heisman conversation, we talked about Kyle Trask last week.
I think
and
it's
why
his to
he
win.
deserves to be, if not the winner, one of the either second or third candidates for the Heisman.
Especially if Florida makes a run.
Yes,
If Florida
agreed.
beats Alabama
They're
in the
still
SEC
top,
championship.
They're what, number like 6 or something right now?
Yeah, they're top 6. I think top 6.
And with that, let's head over to our conversation with Ari Curtis, who we had on a little bit later after Coach Garland. Joining us today after Coach Garland, awesome conversation with him. We've got the 6'4", 210-pound defensive end at Ellsworth Community College, former teammate of Hunter and I's at Lake Orion High School, where he was an absolute monster on the outside pass rush and one of the hardest guys to block in practice, I will say, when he was giving it his all. And he played against Drew Carpier, probably had a few tackles in the backfield against my guy. Speaking of a guy who does not care about absolutely killing quarterbacks in fall camp, it's Ari Curtis. What's going on, Ari?
How you doing, Kobe?
Doing great, man. How's it feel to be home?
Oh man, it feels great. I mean, to be honest, don't get me wrong, love Iowa, good place, but it's a little bit hard when you're a JUCO product. The JUCO struggle is real. So being home
I got
great.
you got enough going on out in Iowa? Is it really just cornfields, like as far as the eye can see?
Dude, it's nothing but in any hour, in any direction. It takes an hour to get to any place that needs to go. Like or Cedar Falls, it takes an hour. So all surrounded by cornfields and pig farms.
Man, Cade just visited an NAI school out there, St. Ambrose. Is that anywhere near you guys?
It's about 2 hours. We actually had a scrimmage against them. They're back-to-back champions. Yep.
Okay, so that might actually be not a too bad spot to end up. They're NAI, I believe, though, correct?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. When do you head back after your break?
I believe they're talking about heading back on January 16th, somewhere around that time.
That's
We're gonna have a 3-day quarantine when we come back.
A 3-day quarantine?
Yep, we had
That's
so
all.
When we first came on campus, we had a 3-day quarantine, and then you're able to go around and do stuff. But it was still mostly stay in your room, only go to practice, and do
of
what you
course.
gotta do. That was it.
Well, Ari, me and Kobe are looking at each other saying 3-day quarantine. That seems pretty short to us.
That does.
Yeah, 10 days up in the UP. That's what we've been doing. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Wow. Man, hey, take advantage of it, I guess. And it seems like you guys, especially compared to us in the GLIAC, it feels like you got a lot more football in as far as practices and scrimmages go. How much exactly time did you get out on the field?
I would say about at least a good 2 hours almost every day, if not 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 hours every day.
Holy dude, we're all looking at each other like, what? Like that's awesome. I mean, you feel like you've been taking advantage of that and getting some good reps in there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Now when I came in, I wasn't, the heaviest. I was still a little light from the whole Corona thing.
You put on some pounds?
So I was 193. That was my first coming in weight.
What are you at right now?
Right now I'm at 208.7, so basically 209.
Oh, okay, I got you. Anyways, you're still behind me, the 5'9" white guy here sitting on the couch. I'm at 211, but hey, you'll get there eventually. Anyways, I'm gonna play a few clips of your highlights here for the video version of the podcast, and I just wanted to comment on the fall camp. I believe it was fall camp of your highlights, and they've got you playing. Before we get into that, they've got you playing this outside linebacker type on the line of scrimmage, almost like a flex type spot. What kind of position is that? What do you guys call it?
So for us, it's the rush in, but my coach likes to call it the hybrid.
Okay, yeah.
What I am.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You enjoying that?
Oh, I love it. No one expects me to be coming to blitz from the corner position and just run in and I just whack the quarterback.
That's gotta be scary. I mean, you're too big to be coming off the edge like that. But I wanted to show these clips because are these QBs just fair game in practice? I mean, they've got different colored jerseys on, but you come through and decapitate them, I think, on multiple plays, and it doesn't even look like they have any type of restrictions on the quarterback. So what's going on there?
So in fall camp, we're in scrimmage. My coach, Coach K, Coach Feinschmidt, he'll say that the quarterback is live.
Man.
So we're able to hit the quarterback and he's live. He's basically food to me. So.
Dude, that is wild. I don't know if have you ever, I've never heard that before.
Never heard that either.
Right into fall camp, heads up, you're about to get smacked by this dude coming off the edge. Man, okay, but.
For me, it was like a big, wait, you said the quarterback is live? I've never had that in my whole life.
I mean, yeah, you get yelled at in practice when you lay a finger on Blaze, our guy in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now I go second guess. I'm just gonna go.
Let's go, man. All right. Well, what's your mindset been like playing at the JUCO level? We talked about that JUCO struggle, and it's real. What's your mindset been like trying to get a shot to go play some big time football after a year or two in Ellsworth?
So my whole thing is you got to stay humble. Stay humble and stay willing to grind.
Okay.
If you don't stay humble and willing to grind, you will not make it out of JUCO. JUCO is full of full of kids like myself who are coming in their freshman year. Then you get Division I bounce back. Those kids are already coming from Division I,
Interesting.
big, ready, and hungry. So if
Oh.
you're not willing to beat them out, then you're not gonna really go nowhere. So
Oh.
my whole thing is I want to make sure that I produce good film.
Yep.
On top of my grades, because
There
a
you
lot
go.
of kids who go to JUCO, they're there because of grades.
Yeah.
And some, like most of the Division bounce backs might be there because of something stupid they did. But hey,
Yeah, man, I think it's kind of funny too. I think after watching some of like the Last Chance U and some of that, I think people have almost glorified that JUCO experience a little bit and just be able to go out and ball out without many restrictions. But how has that been? I would assume pretty different from that type of experience, or has it been pretty accurate?
I mean, it's pretty different because you get to live the real thing. It's
Yeah.
not just TV.
Exactly.
Like, people
Okay.
think, Last Chance U, who I'm going to be, if I go JUCO, I'm going to be on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And dudes were doing that. Like that was a real thing. Like dudes were transferring it. Obviously, like between East Carolina and was it like or Independence, right? Independence is second. Yeah.
Independence.
So between like those two schools, there were legitimately guys going out of their way to go play there because, you know, either A, they thought they were going to get more exposure from being on those shows
Cameras
and
or
things.
something like
Yeah, but
that.
like I mean, there was a legit like phenomenon that was going on. So I think you said it's been a pretty humbling experience so far.
Yep.
All right. We had Coach Garland on. We just talked to him a little bit earlier about the process of playing at a junior college. He played at Grand Rapids Community College here in Michigan before. I mean, that's no longer around. But getting the most out of his experience, what has it been like to be coached by Coach Garland?
Man, I'll tell you, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I love Coach Gannon back in high school,
Yeah.
Coach Garland he's a great coach.
That's
Phenomenal
awesome.
Coach.
Yeah,
Like,
he
he really takes the time to sit with you and actually be like, he's not just a coach. He's like a big friend too.
that's exactly what he said. That is exactly what he said in his little interview there. So I love to hear that. That's really how it is because he seems like a super genuine dude. We talked to him about you know, he's obviously a D-line coach, that position type coach. He said no aspirations to be a maybe defensive coordinator or head coach at the next level. He really just wants to, you know, rise up on the rungs of being that position coach and that D-line coach. I thought that was pretty interesting. What do you think about that?
He's perfect fit for it. Really perfect fit for it.
Okay.
I believe he could do it.
That's awesome.
He's always so in practice he'll give us tips, tricks, everything like that, like a normal coach. But then again, he won't just tell you how to do it. He'll show you how to do it, give you the breakdown of how it's done and everything like that. So you're not just sitting there wondering like, okay, well you told me how to do this, but how do I really do it? Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to show me and break it down for me?
Players coach, man. Sounds like
he's the type of coach that gets his hand in the
Sounds like
dirt.
Coach
that
Yes.
sounds like
Yep.
Coach Robinson, Drew. Like the dude, he's going to go out there with his cleats on and he's going to show you because that does so much more than just talking about it. That's awesome. But kind of rounding it out here in high school, I know you had teams from GLIAC and MAC that were definitely interested in getting you on campus, Ari, just because of your play and your size and all these things that you've got going for you. Are you trying to keep in touch with these guys, and how do you make sure to keep those connections for when you're out eventually of Ellsworth?
Twitter.
Twitter? There you go.
Twitter
There
is
you
a
go.
big recruiting platform.
Yeah.
Besides Twitter and just trying to email coaches, I think when the Division I season ends, I believe they're about to end it. It's not already ended. I've been stuck with school and all that, but
Yep.
I just try to update my film on Twitter, follow as many coaches I can. If they have DMs open, DM them, send at least twice a week. Like, don't just send my film either. Send a nice little paragraph so they know, like, why send it to them. I'm not just like some random kid, like, hey, you know, I want to offer. Try
Yeah.
to get an actual connection with them.
Good for you, Ari. That sounds awesome.
That sounds awesome. I mean, way to have like
Dedication.
like the actual, you know, willingness to go out and separate yourself, because obviously those coaches' DMs are going to be just absolutely clogged with everyone. Hey, check out my film. And nobody wants to see that. Like if I were a coach, at least I can't, you know, speak from experience, obviously.
Yeah, but
like,
if you see a kid write a paragraph, like that's like, oh, he wants to talk to me. Not just, hey, film.
Hey, Ari, so this is Drew here, you know, the guy you sacked apparently a couple of times. I wouldn't remember. But so you watch Last Chance U, right? And you see a bunch of JUCO teams. They have like pipelines. Like I feel like Ole Miss, Auburn were pipelines for Last Chance U in the first season, at least second season, I think. Does Ellsworth have any like pipeline like schools that come calling?
To be honest, I wouldn't know. This is my first year of being there, so I'm not really sure. But I know we get a couple like close Iowa schools. I know we get a couple Division IIs. I've seen a couple guys when I first came in. I know a couple guys had an offer to Davenport here back in Michigan, and I know a couple guys this year who had offered to Davenport. So pretty
Sweet.
sure Davenport, a couple of Division I schools. Not sure which schools exactly, because like again, I'm a freshman, so I wouldn't know who came last year.
That's an interesting
but-
point. Yeah. I think that like the pipeline thing, that's interesting because I guess out of high school you see that a lot, but I guess it kind of is the same type of idea. You'd assume they go back and keep looking for that talent. Coach Garland said, I know you had a guy commit from your team to University of Houston pretty recently, and then he said you had a couple guys go to Western Michigan, I believe he said, and a couple other areas. How awesome is that looking ahead for you, seeing that these guys ahead of you are going to play some big time football?
It feels good to me. You know why? Because I'm in a position where I feel like my coach, it's not just me helping myself, it's my coach and me helping me. So
Awesome.
He's putting forth the effort as long as me. I
Yeah.
feel like he sees that, like, as long as he sees that you're putting forth an effort and you're recruiting and you actually want to do and go somewhere and be great, then he's going to put forth that effort to push you along and make sure you make it.
All right. Yeah, I love that. I love that that outlook and that perspective. It sounds like you're definitely getting things done there, and I love the willingness, like I said, to go out and put yourself out there. So wishing nothing but the best for you in the future, Ari, and appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. See you, Ari. Great conversation with Ari.
Yeah, that was good to hear him again.
I loved his outlook. He seems like a changed dude. A
Yeah,
little bit. Would you agree?
Some
we
big
played
words
with him.
coming out of him.
I think like his mindset of being like, I'm gonna send this coach film twice a week, and like I'm gonna separate myself by like typing up an actual paragraph and like catering messages to each individual coach and maintaining those connections. Like that shows a lot of I don't know what the word is. I guess fortitude of like just like sticking with it and like obviously that humbling experience at the JUCO level.
Yeah, it was very cool to just hear him say that, and also like you said, different experience. JUCO made, JUCO product. The JUCO struggle is real, supposedly.
That's what he said.
So go
go
Ari. I'll be rooting for him for the rest of my days, and hopefully I see him on big screen Saturday one day.
Hell yeah, let's do
Well,
that. It's no last chance you out here.
Well, one thing I will say about Ari as a competitor, because you guys saw him both as teammates.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait,
we
you
were-
had to block him. I had to run against him. So I mean, hey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I competed against them.
But when you're watching him on film, he just has so much potential.
Yeah.
His body
much.
frame,
Raw.
his quickness.
That's the JUCO thing we're talking about. We
product.
talked about that off the show a little bit, like just the raw potential of these guys at the JUCO level. He fits it entirely.
Like we would watch film and be like, I mean, going into junior year, 28-7, but we didn't know who number 15 was.
no,
And then we were like, wow, he's
solid.
pretty good.
Yeah. Then senior year, he really broke out, which was obviously awesome for him to do. But let's get into a little bit of college football talk. I want to talk some Big Ten, which we're all very much more familiar with, I would assume, because of, it's the Big Ten. But anyways, the most shocking thing for me has been Northwestern, Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern. We talked at length about them
What a
last
coach.
week, right? Zach and I did. And they are on top of the Big Ten West after a statement game against Wisconsin, who has been the leader of the Big Ten West for a large time. I mean, Nebraska's had a couple years where they've been up there. But Wisconsin, they
Iowa too.
got taken advantage. Iowa actually has been up there. You're also correct on that. But Northwestern, what's been keeping them in games is their defense and their turnovers and them getting the ball from other teams.
100%.
And that bodes terribly well for Michigan State, who not only loves to give the ball to other teams, but has a quarterback that has just been as inconsistent as they come in Lombardi.
I'm pretty sure they benched him for throwing last
Did
week. They
I-
did halfway through the game.
I did not know that.
Saw it on Twitter. He threw a touchdown and an interception.
My dad
I can
somehow
see
believes they're
Throne.
going to beat Northwestern this weekend.
I
No
don't
way.
think so.
Northwestern.
No,
I
no.
think Northwestern is the best.
Northwestern wins out in that division.
Behind Indiana, and
Ohio State.
Ohio State. I think
Let's
they're
not
the third
forget.
best
I mean,
team.
Really?
Wisconsin's
Wisconsin's
overrated.
good, but
they're a
they're-
good team.
yeah.
But I think
Northwestern for
Northwestern's
me.
better this year.
Northwestern
So
for me.
I mean, they beat them. So
Yeah, true.
They've kind of covered up some of their fundamental errors and like weaknesses
Oh, for
because
sure.
of their defense and their turnovers. I think it'll be interesting to see if they have a statement game against a good team where they don't get the turnovers that they need, if they're still able to win and rely on their offense that has been somewhat lackluster. They put
was
up, what,
just gonna get to
17
that.
points against
just gonna
Wisconsin?
get
Yep.
to that. Wisconsin's got a good defense.
They do. They have a solid defense, but when they have to rely on that offense and that I guess you could call it a weakness, that for me will be when I say they're just behind Ohio State and Indiana.
Okay.
So Northwestern, they play 3 teams, right? And they could win out. That's why I say they win out. 5-9 between those 3 teams. Michigan State, Minnesota, and I forget who the other team is, but
Northwestern will win out.
Yeah. Well,
Are you-
Minnesota.
Are you trying to talk
I
about
got-
like college football team?
no,
College football playoff team?
No.
Oh, no.
Because their offense needs to step up. They are 9th in total yards per game for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
9th in passing, 8th in rushing.
Yeah.
There is no way.
Solid, but like not
Not really.
not top of the Big Ten West.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
And when you are going to have to play the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten championship,
Dude,
you're not going to beat them with
get
those
rolled.
numbers.
You're gonna get rolled.
I
But
mean,
it's
yeah.
funny. We talked. I mean,
Unless Justin Field pops a COVID test and they probably got some Joe Burrow guy behind
sitting
them.
on the bench,
Yeah.
just waiting,
100%.
like a Clemson with
Like a Clemson.
Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
Uiagalelei. Hi, how about that? Yeah, I can pronounce it. But anyways, it was funny you mentioned Tagovailoa. Anyways, you mentioned it.
Tagovailoa.
You're the Michigan guy here. I just
boy.
looking back. I'm not bashing anybody, but looking back, it's so funny to me how hyped up that Minnesota-Michigan game was. That was the primetime game. That was the winner of this is going to the College Football National Playoff type
I remember
experience.
I texted you the next day and said, Michigan State is about to get rolled. Joe
Yes.
Milton's a dude. Joe Milton's not the starting quarterback anymore.
Yeah, and it was
They're
like,
missing McCaffrey now.
compilation-
They're missing McCaffrey.
This compilation
looked
of
good.
tweets that I saw, it was like back in 2017, like, oh, don't worry, Michigan fans, the
Once
Wolverines
Harbaugh
have
gets his
finally
guy.
found their guy.
Shea
It's
Patterson.
Shea Patterson. Then the next one was like, we've got a guy, Heisman winner,
Joe
probably
Milton.
Joe Milton. And then a tweet from from last week when McNamara came in.
Cade
right?
might be the guy.
And it's like, you know what?
Yeah, like
Michigan,
what he just said.
a lot of down things from today, but the one good thing, Michigan finally found
Found
their
a
guy.
quarterback.
How about this? How about we finally find a head coach?
Oh.
He deserves to
Man.
go.
So, to Harbaugh, do you think when he does, you think he's done after this season?
No,
Do
I
you
just,
think it's
I
a
don't.
lock?
I don't think they'll ever fire him. I think he's a lifer
Just-
there until he wants to dip. Honestly,
What if he wants out?
if he dips? I just don't see where Michigan
'Cause
could
I
If
go.
not
believe-
this
I
year, then
believe-
next year's he's done.
I believe is his contract up this year or next
I
year?
think
That's
it's
a good
next
question.
year.
That's a good
But they
question.
were negotiating before the pandemic, and then it stopped, and he brought it up, and they were like, "We're just not worried about it right now." But I mean, there's got to be a little hostility between the two sides.
has to
right
be.
now.
He's
I would
never won a
assume
game
so.
against Ohio State.
and he's not going
No,
to.
Big Ten
I said this.
championships.
I think
We talked about this all like last week, but like it's still relevant conversation because
they
it
barely
continues-
beat Rutgers.
because
That's
he
why.
continues to be mediocre.
Was it 3 overtime, 2 overtime?
I think it was
Two
overtime.
And Rutgers missed a field goal in overtime.
Well, so did Michigan.
I mean, but still, like that's
Quinn,
a
Nord-
chance.
Quinn Nordine was the guy that Harbaugh slept over at his house, and I don't know what they did there, but he's been horrible at Michigan. Like, what happened? He was a 5-star kicker, a 5-star or 4 or 5-star kicker,
Wow.
and I
So
think
you're a
he's got
kicker.
4 field goals.
So he's got a leg.
yeah, I guess
You
so.
better have a
leg.
freaking leg.
He's got the Wild Thing haircut from Major League.
That's dope.
That's nice.
That is
Ricky
dope.
Wild Thing Vaughn could kick a better field goal than that. kid.
MACtion, Kobe, why don't we get into that?
Now, one more thing before we go into MACtion here. I want to talk about the East a little bit. We already mentioned Ohio State and Indiana, which that's the two-way race right now at the East. But instead of the usual Penn State, they're 0. Well, wait, they lost
0-5.
Yeah, 0-5 now. Last weekend.
Surprising year.
That's the first time since like 1970, I want to say. Somewhere around those lines.
Oh,
Like,
it's horrible.
It is like a historically bad season for Penn State. That Ohio State Indiana game. How much did we see of that? We watched that game.
Oh,
Watch
yeah,
the whole
I mean,
game.
It was a
Awesome.
good
Best
game.
only
Awesome.
game I watched
Now,
start to finish on
Justin
Saturday.
Fields looked a little bit vulnerable at the beginning of that game.
3 interceptions.
Yeah,
Yeah, more than
2 or 3?
2. I think it was
So
two. I could be wrong,
3.
but
Oh,
either way,
he was throwing.
Either way, he was throwing them things.
Yeah.
that was like a chink in the armor for Ohio State, right? That
That's
for
a little
me, at
scratch
least-
on the best guard.
Yes. That was a solid
Yeah,
reference.
that was a little scratch.
Hey, that was
Good one.
solid. But Indiana kind of proved they can hang with the best, and they're ranked, I want to say like number
12.
11 or 12.
Okay.
something
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
somewhere in that top 15 range. But after that loss, obviously they're going to need, that's an uphill battle for them. And it's
Which-
interesting because with the Big Ten right now, they don't have the rest of the season to build that resume back up.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
No.
It's so interesting. Like,
Like that game
Sucks.
was going to decide who the Big Ten was going to be in the college football playoff.
That's
Like if
why-
Indiana
That's
won
true.
that,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
true.
going to be Indiana.
That's why
true.
non-conference games are so important. You know,
Yeah.
when Ohio State's
Like we can
scheduling
rank-
Oklahoma,
Resume
Michigan
builders.
had Washington.
Yeah.
It's like, they won their conference and they beat this team.
Well, now we've got Washington, Utah on, I think it's on Saturday tomorrow. Because Washington reached out to BYU
Yeah,
to see if they wanted to schedule.
and BYU
was like,
anytime, any place.
And they
No,
said
thank you.
no. But now we've got
And that's-
Washington, Utah this weekend. So that'll be, I mean, Washington should win that game, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Back to Penn State,
Yeah.
because obviously College Game Day was thinking about coming to this game. Michigan, Penn State's a great rivalry. Penn State's defense is just bad.
Yeah. Dude, their whole team
But
is not good.
they're better than Rutgers. So it'll be interesting to see. Harbaugh hasn't named the starter. We'll see who it is.
How about the
But-
defensive tackle, quarterback-wise, he's named the starter?
No.
Interesting. How about that defensive tackle from Rutgers, the Michigan transfer, who had a day against Michigan State earlier in the season, and then again against his former team?
Yep.
That was sweet. Cool
That's
storyline.
awesome.
Good for him.
Cool storyline for him.
He's from New Jersey. They said that in the thing. So like,
so he kind of came home.
Coming home, yeah.
That's kind of cool. I mean, that's for a local guy.
Rutgers football.
I'm coming home.
If your quarterback is number 0, you automatically have drip.
Quarterback should not be wearing number 0.
It's so
and
bad.
yeah, quarterback should not be wearing number 0. I love a running back, wide receiver. Go crazy.
Return specialist.
Return specialist. No quarterback.
Better than wearing 98.
No quarterback.
Number 40.
Devin Gardner, 98.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh, I remember that.
Jesus.
The patch.
God,
Gosh,
they're
man.
so bad.
All right,
Bring back
MACtion.
Brady.
MACtion, let's wrap this.
MACtion.
There it is. Let's wrap this thing up with some MACtion. Western Michigan 3-0 after a big rivalry win over Central Michigan last week, and they've got Northern Illinois this week, who's 0-3, so a big-time start for the Broncos. I want to say, at Northern, dude, we've got like 4 or 5 guys from Northern Illinois for whatever reason. Like, dudes must be transferring out of there left and right. I don't know why. I just realized that, just thinking about that.
You have some transfers?
We've got a good amount of transfers.
Got some good transfers? Yeah, 10 straight.
Probably going to be Tech.
Okay. Let's, but back to the MACtion here.
MACtion.
There it is. Northern Illinois, 0-3 start. Western, over 620 yards in their win against Central, and the QB threw over 5 touchdowns. Wide receiver, I forget his name, but he had over 200 yards in the day.
Who's that little baller from Central, that quarterback? Little chubbier, big cat.
Little chubby guy. Yeah, Big Cat was all.
He's like, look at the chubby QB.
Football guy.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I saw that. I don't know
The
his name.
Central guy.
I don't know his
Anyway,
name.
is the Western Michigan and the Central Michigan rivalry dead? Is it really a rivalry if Western kicks their butts every
It
year?
was a pretty close game. It was like a 1 or 2 score game.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Is it dead? They've won like 6 straight or something like that.
Not as bad as 10 straight, is that
It's
right?
not as bad as 10
Oh,
straight.
yeah. Come on. Hey, come on. Give me some.
I'm going to say, if you're going to say,
10 straight.
Shout out.
we're talking Michigan
Shout
Tech,
out.
Northern Michigan, for those of you who are not residents of the Upper Peninsula. But
I am not.
I'm glad you're not.
Anyways, if you're going to make the argument that that's dead, you could easily say that Michigan Tech and Northern is dead if it's 10 years compared to 6. But I feel like that is
That
still
rivalry
No,
will
rivalry-
never die.
Exactly.
Rivalries-
Like, that's
I feel like
the thing.
rivalries will never
Because
die.
they go
Yeah.
through phases. Michigan
Yeah.
State. we see
Michigan,
the same
Ohio
thing.
State,
Yeah.
like, come on.
That's gone
Yeah,
through so
okay.
many
They're
phases.
putting
True.
100 on
Sorry,
this
I
year.
spoke out of turn. Kobe.
MACtion,
Hey.
Miami, Ohio. Let's talk about Miami, Ohio. 1-2, coming off of a MAC championship last year, where they beat Central in the MAC championship. So
I don't know where I'm talking though.
Yeah,
I might just
you're
be
really
coming things
speaking
out of
your
my
ass.
speaking everything. Christian McCaffrey's still overrated. So let's talk about the Buffalo 3-0 Westerns, top of the 3-0. Do you think the championship will still be at Ford Field this year,
good question.
or do you
Great
think
question.
they're going
Do
to
you
be
think-
like?
I think it'd be really
championship
cool.
will be at Ford Field, I would assume.
I think it's confirmed that it was going to be at Ford Field.
But it was before we
if
got
it
shut
happens
down.
after
Before we
this
got shut down, that was
yeah.
confirmed.
I think it'd be really cool because, not just because like they could pick the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium or the Browns because they're allowed to have fans there. The
Ooh,
Lions
true, that'd be cool.
aren't going to
That'd be
have
cool.
Lions aren't going to
That
have
would be
fans.
sweet.
So if they went there, plus it'd be outdoor game like Army Navy
Ooh.
in
And
December.
COVID compliant, outdoor.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, COVID
a little
compliant.
bit more COVID compliant in an outdoor situation.
Yep.
Back to what you said about Western and Central.
Yeah.
I checked this guy on CBS Sports. I forget his name, but they did bowl predictions, and I don't know what the like current bowl status is, but Michigan, Central Michigan, and Western are going bowling. Sparty and Eastern though, not
Really?
interesting. But I don't know what the like because usually
Yeah,
it's
what's
6
the
wins.
I can see
analytics on
Spart.
that?
I think it's maybe 4 wins this year.
Spart-
I
Sparty's
don't
not
think
Big
good,
it's-
Ten.
man.
Big Ten's getting like 8 games, but the MAC are only getting 6. They're getting 6 games in the
So
Central.
it's gotta be,
like,
yeah.
Yo, so Western Michigan's 3-0. The worst they can do is go 500, and they're not going 500
Western-
because they've got that game against Northern Illinois this weekend.
Western row the boat, of course, but they should not be 3-0. Toledo
Really?
choked that game.
They
I don't
did
know if you
choke.
guys remember that.
That was
remember
week
the
watching
one.
onside.
Was that week
no,
one?
that was week 2.
2, okay, sorry.
The onside kick.
I did see that.
Then they throw it up on the I think it was like a fake spike or something. It was like controversial or thing. And Toledo was up 14 with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah. I know Kent State's on top on the other side of the MAC.
It's Buffalo's 3-0 and then
yeah, Buffalo
Penn
looks
Kent
State's
State's
3-0.
on top, I think, right now. But like you talk like 6 games only for MAC teams. That's going to keep you. I mean, you can be bowl eligible, sure, but like that's going to keep you away from some of the better
for sure.
competition
Bowl
bowl wise.
games, yeah.
You just don't have the resume builders. Like the same thing is the issue with the Big Ten.
But it's like
And-
it's MACtion. They don't need a resume builder. They just want to be in a bowl.
I guess
think.
that's true. That's probably true.
It's
and
not
that
like the
sucks.
Big Ten. The Big Ten,
That
like if you're a
sucks,
team
but
in the
yeah.
Big Ten, you're like compete for a playoff spot. like Michigan State,
Or like one of
Ohio
those-
State. They always compete for a
New
top
Year's
8
Six.
spot.
Yeah.
New Year's Six bowl. But like if
There
you're
you
thinking
go.
of MACtion, you're thinking of let's get to a bowl this year.
Let's go to the Bahamas.
Let's go to the
Ball.
Bahamas.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Buffalo
Let's get a
Wild Wings bowl or
vacation.
something.
Let's get a
Yeah.
vacation. Let's go play some football and have a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That kind of is. But anyways, that's all we've got today for Division One Rejects, episode 10.
MACtion.
A little bit of MACtion, Big Ten, a lot of Lions talk, some great guests.
What
But
do the Lions have next week?
the Lions next
I
week?
don't know. I don't care.
That's a great question.
Hopefully.
Okay,
Fat
okay. How
Matt's
about this?
gone.
So we can answer this next week. Patricia fired or not by next week's start?
If
That'll
Patricia,
be our
if
piece next week.
Hot take. No.
Hot
What's
take?
your prediction?
he is still here next week. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, he is still here. Unfortunately,
I want to
and
know.
I
what
hope
Jimmer
I'm wrong.
thinks.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Hunter. I don't think they're gonna get rid of him.
The Lions do not
I
have.
don't think they're gonna get rid of him.
They're not going to
but
pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Hopefully we'll have a little bit
Still don't care.
of a different conversation next week, but that's all we've got for this episode of
Ain't
Division
nobody
One
care.
Rejects.
Deion
Make sure
Sanders.
to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and if you've been watching on YouTube, you've been in for a treat because all of our faces have been blessing you for
that
the past
man
hour.
is a bona fide scrub.
And on that note, have a great weekend. Watch some great football. See ya.